Encourage podcast.
I know faking it gets exhausting. Here, we keep it real. Hey guys, happy Thursday and welcome back to another episode of Curls and Courage. Hope you guys are feeling blessed, making gains as always. I am your host, Kinsley Meeks, wellness entrepreneur, fitness coach, bikini bodybuilder, and digital creator, here to inspire you to live boldly and unlock your highest physical and mental potential. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to or to watch today's show. This is one that I feel is just going to be just interesting, okay, but also inspiring. Like, I would be the only person to take a solo trip and literally be stranded with no money and no food on literally my first night of vacation. But honestly, that moment taught me a lot, and the whole trip truly opened up my perspective, and I'm so happy that I decided to take just a much-needed trip, a much-needed vacation to Puerto Rico coming from Miami. So that's what today's episode is all about. I just got back from Puerto Rico, and I thought it would be a cool idea to share my experience. Honestly, coming back from PR, I feel so much more at peace and honestly just a happier person, more inspired to work, more inspired to create and just live my life in general. So I feel like a lot of people have questions about solo traveling, and especially when I explained to some people that are close to me that I was going alone, they were like, "Are you crazy? Like, why would you go by yourself?" But for me, traveling solo is honestly a positive. There's not a lot of close friends that I have, especially who would be able to go on a trip like this with me. I typically travel with my brother, but he's just in a different position than me right now. He has a different, line of work, different schedules. So it just didn't really line up super well for him to go. And then again, like I know a lot of people, I have a lot of connections and a lot of people that I talk to, but I don't necessarily have a ton of people that I'd be like, "Hey, you want to go on a trip to PR?" and they would be down. And I definitely know I don't have a man's right now. So we got to make boss moves, okay? And when your heart tells you it's time to go, you should not wait on anyone to travel. So I'm the type of person that I also enjoy being alone, and I wanted to be able to experience a trip kind of on my own terms. So, on my own schedule, what I wanted to do, not catering towards anyone else's needs. And I wanted to have some time to actually kind of breathe and think. I move so quickly when I'm in Miami. A lot of people can relate to this. No matter where you are in the world, life is just so fast, which can be a good thing. We got to make moves, but sometimes you just need to take a moment to kind of like figure out your direction and just reconnect with yourself and your thoughts. I mean, I had been working a lot. I was just feeling so drained to even like think clearly half of the time. And I was like, again, I really need to just get away from this and then come back and I feel like I'll feel better. So I really thought also that traveling solo would kind of push you outside of your comfort zone. And one thing I'm really passionate about is intentionally putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to build courage. That is why I started this podcast. Y'all know the vibes, Curls and Courage. We want to make sure that we are building the courage, right? So wanted to kind of get a reset, wanted to kind of get my spark back. And this trip was also a very short time. I ended up leaving on like a Thursday afternoon. I got there like Thursday evening, my first night in PR. And then I came back Sunday early afternoon as well. So it was just a short time. It was affordable. It was convenient. Flying to Puerto Rico, from Miami only takes like 2 hours, which is great. I hate being on a plane, especially if you're in that middle seat. Y'all know that's not the move. So I was super excited to go. I think a lot of times people talk about like hustle culture, but they don't necessarily talk about burnout. And I'm pretty open about things that I go through and sharing my experiences with y'all. And yes, I think, again, hustling is important. I do it every day. But when you feel burnout, I don't necessarily think it's always best just to push through. And for those of you who haven't felt this before, or maybe you have felt it and you're just like, what is going on? I want to explain this to you guys. So burnout just isn't when you're so busy. It's when you've been going too strong for too long with no recovery. So if we relate it back to training, it would be like having, say, 2 weeks of leg days back to back. Like your legs are hurting. They are practically begging you to stop, but you just keep hitting that leg press, that 3 sets of 12 reps. And by that 14th day, your legs, they'll still do the press. Like they'll still work, but those sets are going to be like absolute trash. They are going to be, again, begging you to rest. Just like your body, your mind needs rest as well. It needs recovery. So what does burnout feel like? You're exhausted, like you are tired as shit, but you just cannot relax. You're overwhelmed, but you're still performing. You're unmotivated, but you're still disciplined. You're achieving, but you're just not enjoying it. And you feel numb instead of excited. Rest doesn't feel restorative. Wins don't feel rewarding. And even the things that you prayed for in your life, they happen to you, but they feel heavy. This is when you know you're burnt out. This was me. And again, a great indication that it was just time to leave. Okay. You have to be self aware. And if this is you again, please take my advice. Do not continue to press forward until that burnout gets any worse. You have to have some sort of small mental relief, and it doesn't have to be taking a big trip or doing anything crazy. It could be just as simple as doing something that you've never done before. Without distractions. One big thing I did when I was traveling was I tried to be off of my phone as much as possible and actually embrace the moment. We live in this digital age, which again, social media has pros and cons like anything in life. But one thing I really noticed about being away from, I mean, Puerto Rico is still in the US, but it's just, it feels like you're outside of the US. I'll say that you're on an island essentially. And so a lot less people are just like scrolling on their phones, looking down in the elevators. Like people are so friendly, which I'll get into, but I think it's super important to kind of take intentional time away for yourself and especially staying off of your phone. I also think it's really important to break out of the mundane and the routine we have in life. So our brains love predictability. They love routine, they love control and comfort, but nothing new grows inside of your comfort zone. You may have the same routine, you go to the same gym, you have the same conversations, you have the same environment. I was sick of it, okay? And I needed to go. Novelty interrupts stagnation. Yes, there is high benefits to having a routine, making sure that you eat good, making sure that you go to the gym. Obviously, that's what I'm about, making sure you have people in your circle that you talk to. But doing the same thing over and over and over and over again upon years straight, eventually you will be stagnant unless you decide to make changes in that routine. So that's one thing I'm also very big on. So, what I want to move into next, before I ramble too much with y'all, I want to share my experience in Puerto Rico solo. The story about how I was literally broke the first night of my vacation, no money, no food, and the pros and cons of solo traveling. So, just to kind of bring you guys back, my first night in PR, I arrived around 5 p.m. and I was staying at a cool Airbnb right inside San Juan. And I decided, the night that I got there, I wanted to go get some food, just kind of explore around the city, and then also just get groceries. And of course, needed to get an energy drink. I was tired, and y'all know I'm a fiend for that energy drink. So the first thing was I dropped my luggage off at the Airbnb, looked around. Again, it was right on the beach, super beautiful. Going to the gas station to get that energy drink. Like I said, we need it. So I get to this gas station and I get my little, Ghost energy drink. And I get in the line to start to pay, and I pull out my credit card, and I put my card in, and they ask me for my PIN number. And I don't know my PIN number to my credit card. I should know that, but I just never use it. I've always been the type of person to like bypass the PIN whenever, and I have several credit cards too, but whenever I got them, I just was like, oh, whatever, like I don't need the PIN number. This time I did. So I couldn't get the energy drink because they're like, ma'am, I'm sorry, you have to have like your PIN number or you can't get the drink. And so luckily there was this guy beside me and he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, I got you. I'll get the drink for you. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you, So first thing I noticed in PR is people are so friendly. Within 15 minutes of being there, I got a free energy drink. I got asked out on a date and I received at least 3 compliments. So I'm like, okay, I'm vibing, like, buenos noches, I'm here for a good time, not a long time, I'm just enjoying my vibe, whatever. So I get this energy drink. And at the time when my card got declined, I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, oh, I'm sure it'll work somewhere else. I was wrong. So I go to get some food. That's my next stop. And I order whatever and I try to put in my card again and they ask me for the PIN and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know the PIN. Is there any way that I can just bypass it? And the waiter is like, no, like you can't do that. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, damn, let me try somewhere else. So I leave this food, and it was going to be some good Caribbean food too, but I leave this food. I'm like, let me at least try to go to the grocery store. No eating out tonight. I'll just get, my groceries for the couple days that I'm staying in PR. So I go to this supermarket. Luckily, everything is super walkable. So I'm vibing at this point, just walking around San Juan, and I get a cart full of groceries, and I'm like excited about these groceries too. Like in Puerto Rico, the fruit is so amazing. Even when I'm traveling, I eat super healthy. It's just part of my lifestyle. So, I got some sweet potatoes in my cart. I got some pineapples, some cherries, some mangoes, some oranges. I got just all of these good fruits and veggies and, obviously like protein sources, whatever. I mean, my cart is pretty full. So I go to put in my card to pay for my groceries. And you guys already know the employee is like, Senora, like, no bueno, no. And I'm like, oh, damn, this is an issue now. Like, this is going to be a problem. Is so I tried to put in like random pins that I thought I might know for my card several times. Ends up, I get my card locked. So me, I'm pretty calm in any situation. Like, you could literally stab me and I'd be like, it's cool, man. Like, just next time, don't hit any of my vital organs, but no problem. Like, it happens, But in this scenario, I'm just kind of chilling. I'm like, man, this is really going to be an issue again. So I called the bank and they're like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about it tonight. We can get a new PIN number for you, but you're not going to be able to use your card until tomorrow morning around like a specific time. So I'm like, all right, well, at least I got this problem solved. No food tonight. I ain't going to be buying anything, but I'm going to go back to my Airbnb. And luckily, I did bring some protein powder. So y'all know I had that little bowl of protein. I was chilling in PR. It wasn't the biggest deal in the world. Shout out to First Form for coming through always. I am obsessed with the vegan iced oatmeal cookie flavor. First Form protein powder, I literally eat it every single day, whether I'm eating a protein ice cream or just making a shake. So, of course, again, we had to bring it on vacation, and that's what helped me get the gains and not starve my first night in Puerto Rico. So I'll leave also the link to First Form in the description of the show notes in case y'all want to check out those products. Super, super good protein powder and other supplements as well. But anyways, this taught me a valuable lesson. I should always bring at least a little bit of cash with me when I'm traveling and make sure that I do know my PIN number. So now we're set. So anyways, moving past that day 2 in PR, I actually have a full day. So I wake up. I'm like, please God, help my card to work. I go get some coffee and luckily my card is working. Praise God. Went to get the groceries that I didn't get the night before. Went to go work out. And then I hit the beach. I'm on the beach. I got a nice pina colada. I'm eating pineapples. Like, I'm chilling, having a great time. Again, exploring San Juan, just kind of walking around the city. I went out to dinner that night and just got some good, like, healthy food at a restaurant that one of my clients had recommended. And then after that, this is pretty interesting as well. I decided that I was going to go out, and I'm not the person to like really go out to clubs like that. But I'm like, hey, like, I'm in Puerto Rico. I love to dance. I'm going to vibe. And so someone had recommended for me to go to La Factoria, which is actually where the song Despacito was filmed. So I was like, that must be cool. It's kind of like a speakeasy vibe. But I get out of my Uber and I'm in La Factoria. I'm kind of walking around these bars and I'm like, you know what? I hate this. Like, I literally hate this. People were drunk as hell, touching all over me, like, oh, mamacita. Like, I'm like, man, like, I don't even know you like that, And so immediately I did leave and I went back home because this was not the vibe, even if I do love to dance. It actually reminded me of like college bar hopping, which I've only ever done once in my life. I didn't even go to college. I just remember doing this with a friend one time and I absolutely hated that experience as well. So, sometimes you just got to stick with your own. But I went again back to the Airbnb, just kind of chilled for that night. It was good though. Day 3, I woke up, actually my last full day, again, very short trip. I went out to the beach and actually shadow boxed on the beach in Puerto Rico. It was actually so beautiful. And then again, that same day, I just kind of chilled on the beach. I actually went surfing as well. Puerto Rico has great surfing. I was probably not in the right spot for it, but it was still pretty wavy. Like, I was riding those waves. I actually met a guy. Again, like I said, Puerto Rico, people are so nice, like overwhelmingly nice. This guy let me borrow his surfboard. And like I said, physically and metaphorically, I was riding the waves. That was really nice. When I get back from surfing though, I get back to my Airbnb and I notice I'm like trying to take a shower and like the water is real cold. I'm like trying to cook and like the stove won't work. The microwave isn't working. I'm like, this is really strange. So I call the Airbnb person who, let me stay at her place. And I'm like, hey, it seems like the power isn't working. And she was like, oh, yeah, like that just happens in Puerto Rico. I'm like, well, do you know when it's going to be back on? She's like, honestly, it could be hours, it could be days. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to leave. So it wasn't the biggest deal again. I stayed positive. I went out that night, actually got a massage on the beach, which was so nice, was really treating myself, got some good food, met some cool people, and then just kind of went back and again kind of relaxed at the Airbnb. Next morning, I woke up, shadow box on the beach again, so peaceful. And I will say something about boxing and PR, like it got me looking dangerous. I swear I'm out there like even the sharks are like intimidated at this point, but worked a little bit that morning and then I went back home. So as I was coming home from my trip, I was kind of sitting on this flight back to Miami and just reflecting on what I realized after my trip. And what I realized was, man, first off, let me record a podcast episode. And then secondly, I need to do this more often. I feel like a lot of times we just run on empty and we're just like, oh, let me keep pushing, let me keep pushing, let me keep pushing. Sometimes like you just need a couple days or even a couple hours to just take a moment to breathe and then come back to whatever you're working on. I personally don't rest well when I'm stressed. I was resting amazing on vacation. That was nice. A lot of times we oftentimes just don't take a moment also to be still. And we tie part of our identity to being productive, which is important. Like, y'all know we're never lazy, but you have to take time to actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. So I just encourage you guys to do that. Next thing I want to get into, pros and cons of solo traveling. I had so many people ask me this, and especially as a female, a lot of girls like have their doubts about going on a solo trip, and I just want to make sure that I'm removing any doubt outside of anyone's brain, especially females, but my guys too. This is super relatable. So of course, I'm the type of person, we'll talk about the pros first. When you're traveling, I think it's extremely freeing when you're by yourself. Again, you wake up when you want, you eat wherever you want to eat, you go where you want to go. You can change your plans at any time without consulting anyone or without compromising what you want to do. You don't really need anyone with you to live your life. And of course, yeah, sometimes it's great to have you have the right person, of course, go with them. But a lot of times it's just not a season of life where you may have that. So you shouldn't wait because life is too short and it's too expensive to wait. Secondly, I think you build a lot of trust within yourself. And this is like the story of my life, but traveling solo really strengthens self-trust even more. When things go wrong, and they usually will, anytime you're traveling, something's going to go wrong. Example, me not being able to buy food or credit card not working, but you are the one who's in charge of figuring it out. You missed a ride, that's your problem. Your car gets declined, that's on you. You have the wrong address, well, looks like you're not going to be sleeping. Like, you know what I mean? You solve the problem, but that really helps you build confidence. Next, when you're alone, I think it gives you some sort of mental clarity that is just undescribable. You think clear, you feel clear, you notice what's been weighing on you because your brain actually has space to process and focus on you rather than something else that's going on in your life or somebody else. And then you also realize how to actually enjoy your own company, which I think is so important. This is huge. So many times on my trip, not to boast, but I was just out there thinking like, damn, I am fun. Like I am so fun, you know? A lot of times, especially as a female, we wait again for that person, but you cannot do that. We only get one life, and to wait is just stupid to me. There is so much power in actually enjoying your own company. We need community, of course, but you have to live your life and you have to know how to enjoy company with yourself when other company is not present. And the last one is big too. You learn something new and gain a new perspective literally anytime you travel. You're around new culture, you're in a new environment, you're around new people. You keep your eyes open and you are going to learn something. And being a student, being willing to learn is a trait and a skill set that will do nothing but push you forward. But let's also talk about the cons because, like anything, there's pros and cons. Solo traveling definitely isn't everything it seems to be at times. So, firstly, as a female, it can be pretty unsafe, especially when you are unfamiliar with the area. You have to be really careful about where you're staying and who you're around. Luckily, I had a few clients who had either lived in Puerto Rico before or traveled there, and they kind of told me what areas to stay away from. I also did research before I went on the trip. There was no super sketchy situations in PR. I did feel really safe the whole time. Um, there was one night where I was kind of walking around the city and someone came up to me. He was actually a security guard. And he was like, "Hey, ma'am, like, you should not be walking around here. Like, you should get an Uber." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like, and I did. I got an Uber and I went home. So that was good. Someone was looking out for me. But I think as long as you're careful, you're going to be okay. But yeah, of course, solo traveling, it can be unsafe. Don't get me wrong. Secondly, yeah, it can be lonely. I'll be honest, on this trip, I did not feel lonely at all. But I do know what that feels like. And I think this can be potentially a big problem, a big con with solo traveling. It's not for everybody. Again, yeah, sometimes it would be nice to have somebody sleeping next to you on an island, but that's just not always going to be the case. I think as long as you go into it with a good headspace, you're going to be good to go. I actually got some really good advice from a family member of mine before I went on this trip, and I was like, I don't know if I should go by myself. This was my brother I was talking to, and he was like, look, like, would you rather be alone in Miami or alone in Puerto Rico? And I'm like, that is so facts. You're going to have a good time and you're going to meet people, especially if you have, again, more of an open mind. So not for everybody, but again, I really enjoy being by myself. I think for some people, another con is it can trigger anxiety. This is another one, again, for me, did not happen. I believe full-heartedly that this trip greatly helped my anxiety, but I can see how solo traveling can definitely heighten anxiety for certain people, especially as a woman. You just have to know yourself. Reasons being you have safety concerns, you have financial stress, maybe language barriers, and you're kind of hyper aware in public as well because you don't know the environment. However, again, you go into a trip with caution, a strong mentality, and an open mind, and good finances too. Don't go on a trip and you're broke. You'll be just fine. To me, you just have to embrace it. You can't be mentally somewhere else when you're traveling. You need to be in the moment. You need to welcome the new experience. Another con, though, I will say it can be expensive. I think Puerto Rico, for anyone who's interested in going there, it's pretty reasonable, especially if you're flying out of somewhere that is more affordable, like Miami. I spent roughly $1,400 on my trip. I was gone for, let's see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 nights. That includes the flight, that includes the food, the travel, the little things that I did do while I was there. So again, not crazy expensive, but still $1,400. That is not easy money. Definitely a check for sure, and not something I can do anytime I please. When you're traveling by yourself, it definitely means you can't cost share. Accommodations, rides, food, that's all going to be on you. But overall, I would say the pros outweigh the cons by far, by a large margin. Okay. Pros build confidence, cons build character. The freedom is honestly beautiful, and there is no other way to describe it. Okay, and then last thing I want to share with you guys is just practical tips for women wanting to travel solo, especially if you are passionate about fitness, which we should all be, or if you're an athlete. So I want to address as an athlete first. When I am traveling, unless I am prepping for a competition, I do not track my food. What I do is eat healthy, but not restrict myself. So, for example, if I really find something I'm like, this looks amazing and I want to eat it, I will, even if it's not the most healthy. But with the mentality I have, like the most unhealthy thing that I'm eating is like an acai bowl. You know what I mean? Like I eat super healthy. I've always been like that. So that's definitely a pro. But eat healthy, don't go crazy, don't restrict. I still train when I'm traveling. I don't think to go on a trip and like just completely be not active at all. If you're not going to train, I would say at least try to stay active. So, walking on the beach, getting up in the morning, getting some movement in, whatever it may be. Just don't be lazy, but take time to enjoy the vacation that you're on. At the end of the day, you're there to relax. So don't be too hard on yourself would be my advice. But again, you want to always keep it healthy. I think that once you're passionate about fitness, it's more of just a lifestyle and you enjoy it. I'm always the type of person, like, I'll research a gym that's going to be close to me, or I'll try to find an Airbnb with a gym and also just a kitchen. So on this trip, I think I trained like one time. I mentioned that. And then on the other 2 days, I was just shadow boxing on the beach and running. That was really nice. And then again, just like eating healthy, eating out, not restricting. It's cool if you can still stay on track while being flexible on vacation. That's the best way to go about it for sure. Having that flexibility is really important. And it's something that I did not do very well in my past. But now we good. So next thing is tips just outside of training, nutrition, traveling as a female or a person just in general. These apply to everybody. I think number one priority is you need to be safe when you're traveling. So share your location with someone that you trust. Keep emergency cash separate. We talked about this one. You need to have a little bit of cash with you just in case something comes up. Definitely research transportation in advance. You want to know how to get around. So, like in Puerto Rico, for example, I was just Ubering everywhere. It was a little bit less expensive. I didn't want to have to like figure out parking and like where to go and that type of thing. I just kind of wanted it to be easy, especially there for a short time. Side note, Ubers and PR are so cheap, like $5 to go like anywhere. It's pretty cool. And then I would say also book your accommodations carefully. You want to check the reviews, especially if you're on like an Airbnb website. Check the location, see what's around, make sure it's a safe area. And then also don't overshare your plans with strangers. This is a really good example. So, whenever I was on my trip, there was security guards in the building, like up front, and there was also people who lived in the condominium or building that I was staying at. So, I met a couple neighbors, and then I also met the security guards. And I noticed one thing that was really weird. This happened to me, I think, 3 times while I was on my trip for 3 days. The security guard and a couple people living in that building were like, "Hey, like I see you are new here. Like, what door are you in? Like, where are you staying? Like, what's the number of your Airbnb?" And I was thinking like that's really weird for them to ask. And I'm like a very cautious person because of some things that have happened to me in Miami. But I was like, okay, first off, why are you asking me that? But I didn't want to seem too sketch. So what I did is just give every person a different number, and none of them were the actual number of my Airbnb. That is very smart. So don't overshare your plans. You never know someone's intentions, even if they do seem nice, especially if they're guys. You never know. But some girls, y'all crazy too. So just be careful. And then last thing I would say is trust your intuition when you're traveling. Good example of this is like me in the bar scene. I knew I was like, this is not for me. Like, this seems not safe. I don't want to be here. I'm not enjoying it. My gut told me to leave. And so I hopped in another Uber and I went back home. So I think definitely trusting your gut is what you should do in every situation, but especially when you are traveling solo. So if you've been waiting for a sign to book the trip, to start the thing, or to step out alone, this podcast is your sign. Solo trips are the move, and learning, growing, and traveling will do nothing but push you forward in every area of your life. And then if you guys do have any questions about Puerto Rico or just solo traveling, I definitely encourage you guys to just send me a message. Also, the best way to connect more is by shooting me a DM to at Curls and Courage Podcast or at Yo It's Kinslow on Instagram. Also, just the support would mean so much to me. I'm trying to put as much content out there as I can. And then last thing I want to go into is just a listener Q&A. Also can send in your questions through those same Instagram accounts, but a little segment you guys know I like to do. So question of the day is, what is the hardest workout you've ever done? Just curious to know. I really like this question. Thank you for asking. Obviously, I love to talk about training. Out of all of the workouts I've done for like 10 years straight, that is such a hard question, but I'll try to answer it off of the top of my head. I might have to name a few though. So the first one that comes to mind, this is when I was in high school. I remember doing a 100 rep challenge. This is too funny. And the challenge was 25 backflips, 25 weighted vest burpees, 25 weighted vest squats, and then 25 weighted vest push-ups. And the goal was to do those 100 reps as fast as possible. And I remember I put the backflips at the end of the workout, and y'all, I was like falling on my head, like literally busting my head on, like, by the time I got to like backflip number 17, like those were not backflips. Those were just falling to your face. I had my friend record it, and we had to like cut the video so much. But I think I did all of that in the span of like less than 5 minutes. Like, it was insane. When I want to push myself, I definitely do. But I was feeling so sick that day. Too many backflips. Second thing I would say, training legs from like 2 weeks out from a show. You're like running on no food, no sleep, and you are pushing yourself so hard. I remember specifically one of the like probably second or third bodybuilding preps that I did, just having like insane leg days. Again, being so close to my show and just feeling like garbage, like even picking up 10 pounds on like a lunge, like feels like a million. And then lastly, I would say in high school, I used to run these 800-meter repeats, and then we would go train at the weight room. That really built me. 800 meters, like half a mile, but we would do them super quickly, and we would have kind of short rest time, and we would do like 8 or 9 repeats, and then we would go to the gym and train legs. That was so hard, I will tell you. But again, I love a good challenge. So thank you for that question. Much more challenging workouts to come in the future for sure. And thank you guys again for watching today's show, for listening to it. I hope it brought you some value and really made you smile. If you are interested in one-on-one training or nutrition coaching, I would love to help you. Please feel free to shoot me an email at kinsleymeeksfit@gmail.com to set up a consult and get connected. Also encourage you guys, again, if you like the show, please rate and review wherever you're listening or watching now. Share it with a friend and subscribe to the channel. That would mean the world to me as well. Show some love, leave a like, leave a comment. And then if you guys like to listen to the podcast on the radio, it comes on every Thursday at 10 a.m. So until I talk to you guys soon, y'all keep the vibes up and please never be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. Talk to y'all later. Appreciate y'all. Bye.